Look around you. Every person you see is hiding something. A fear they won't name. A weakness they pretend doesn't exist. And women are no different. In fact, they carry specific vulnerabilities that shape every choice they make, every relationship they enter, every man they choose or reject. Carl Jung once said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." Today, we're going into that shadow, the hidden psychological weaknesses that exist in female nature, not to mock them, not to hate them, but to understand them. Because understanding is power. This isn't about all women being the same. It's about patterns. Patterns that repeat across cultures, across time, across every relationship you'll ever witness. And if you ignore these patterns, you'll keep making the same mistakes with women forever. You'll keep wondering why she left, why she changed, why nothing you did was ever enough. But here's the truth. Most men never learn. These weaknesses aren't flaws to attack. They're doors to walk through, keys to unlock understanding. And once you see them clearly, you'll never be confused by female behavior again. So if you're ready to see what others refuse to acknowledge, stay with me, because this journey goes deep, deeper than surface-level advice, deeper than what anyone else will tell you. This is the Shadow Mind, where we explore the darkness to find the light. Subscribe now. Hit that like button, because what you're about to learn will change how you see every woman you meet. And there's no going back once you know. Let's begin. Weakness. Number 1. The need for constant emotional validation. Every woman needs to feel seen. Not just looked at. Seen. Understood. Valued. Even the strongest woman you know carries this need deep inside. She might deny it. She might say she doesn't care what anyone thinks. But watch her actions, not her words. Nietzsche understood this when he wrote, "We are always in our own company." What he meant was simple. We cannot escape our need for others to confirm our existence, to tell us we matter. And women feel this more intensely than most people admit. Why? Because from childhood, a woman learns that her value comes from outside herself. Her beauty is judged. Her behavior is corrected. Her worth is measured by how others respond to her. This creates a hole inside, a hole that needs constant filling. Think about it. When a woman posts a photo online, what is she really doing? She's asking a question. Do you see me? Do I matter? Am I worthy? Even when she seems confident, that question lives underneath. Now, most men get this wrong. They think the answer is to give compliments all the time, to shower her with praise, to tell her she's beautiful every single day. But that's not power. That's slavery. Because when you give validation freely, it loses all value. Here's what actually works. Strategic validation. You notice things nobody else sees. Not her dress, not her makeup, but the contradiction in her words, the fear behind her confidence, the strength she doesn't even recognize in herself. When you point these things out calmly, without needing anything in return, something shifts in her mind. She feels truly seen for the first time. Not as an object, not as a fantasy, but as a complete human being. And that creates a bond deeper than attraction. It creates fascination. But here's the key. You can't do this all the time. The moment validation becomes expected, it becomes worthless. So you give it rarely, only when it's earned, only when it's real. And the rest of the time, you remain a mystery. This drives her crazy in the best way possible. Because now your attention isn't free. It's rare. It's valuable. It's something she has to work for. And humans always want what feels scarce. Freud said, "We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love." And he was right. Because when a woman starts craving your validation, when she starts wondering why you don't react like other men, she becomes defenseless against her own need for your approval. This is not manipulation. This is understanding human nature. And when you understand it, you stop being controlled by it. You stop giving your power away for free. You stop making yourself available just to feel wanted. Instead, you become selective, intentional, valuable. And that changes everything. But validation alone isn't enough, because there's something deeper, something more primal, something that controls her emotions in ways she doesn't even understand. And we're going into that next. Are you still with me? Good. Because what comes next will open your eyes even wider. Let's continue. Weakness number 2. The addiction to emotional chaos. Most men think women want peace, stability, a calm, predictable relationship where everything flows smoothly. And yes, women say they want this. They'll tell you they're tired of drama, tired of games, tired of emotional roller coasters. But watch what they actually respond to. Watch who keeps their attention. Watch who they can't stop thinking about. And you'll see the truth. Women are drawn to emotional intensity, like moths to flame. Arthur Schopenhauer observed this when he said, "Life swings like a pendulum backward and forward, between pain and boredom." Women live on this pendulum more than most. They need the swing, the movement, the unpredictability. Because in that chaos, they feel alive. Think about the nice guy, the one who's always available, always supportive, always saying the right things. Why does he lose her interest? Not because he's too kind, but because he's too predictable. There's no swing, no mystery, no emotional peak to chase. Now here's what this means for you. You cannot be linear. You cannot be the same person every single day. Not because you're playing games, but because real depth has layers. Real strength has contrast. You are calm one moment and distant the next. Warm today and cold tomorrow. Present now and unreachable later. This creates what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. You don't win every time, but you win sometimes. And that sometime keeps you coming back, keeps you hoping, keeps you obsessed. When you're predictable, she knows what to expect. There's no mystery, no chase, no reason to think about you when you're not around. But when you're unpredictable, when she can't quite figure you out, her mind won't let go. She replays conversations, analyzes your tone, wonders what changed, what she did, what she could do differently. And while she's busy thinking about you, you're busy living your life. You're not sitting around wondering if she likes you. You're not checking your phone every 5 minutes. You're focused on your purpose, your mission, your path. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But transformation requires friction, requires heat, requires the unpredictable collision of two forces that don't always blend smoothly. So don't be afraid of tension. Don't smooth over every rough edge. Don't rush to explain yourself every time she seems upset. Sometimes the best response is silence. Sometimes the most powerful move is to pull back when she expects you to chase. This isn't cruelty. This is reality. Because the truth is, she doesn't respect what she can easily control. She doesn't desire what comes too easily. And she doesn't think about what's always available. But here's the warning. You must do this from a place of genuine self-focus, not manipulation. If you're pulling away just to get a reaction, she'll sense it. If you're creating chaos because you're insecure, she'll feel it. The power comes from truly not needing her validation, from truly being focused on something bigger than her attention. Nietzsche understood this when he wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." You must have your own internal world, your own storms, your own purpose, and she gets access to that world only when she earns it. Not because you're keeping her out, but because you're genuinely building something that matters more than her approval. This brings us directly to the next weakness, one that connects to everything we've just discussed. Weakness number 3, the fear of missing out on a better option. Every woman, no matter how committed she seems, carries a quiet question in the back of her mind. Is this the best I can do? Could there be someone better? Am I settling? This isn't about women being disloyal or shallow. This is about basic human psychology, about how our brains are wired to constantly evaluate options, to look for the best possible outcome, especially in a world where options feel endless. Freud called this the pleasure principle, the instinctive seeking of pleasure and avoiding of pain. And in modern dating, women are bombarded with options: social media, dating apps, the constant visibility of other men, other possibilities, other lives they could be living. So even when she's with you, part of her is scanning, comparing, measuring, not consciously, not maliciously, but automatically. Because her biology is programmed to seek the highest value mate she can attract. Now, here's where most men panic. They try to lock her down, make her commit, prove they're the best choice through logic and arguments and promises. But that's the worst thing you can do. Because the moment you try to convince her you're the one, you've already lost. Why? Because high-value men don't need to convince anyone of their worth. They demonstrate it through their lives, through their focus, through their unwillingness to beg for a position in someone's life. Machiavelli said, "Men ought either to be indulged or utterly destroyed, for if you merely offend them, they take vengeance." The same applies here. Either you give her all your attention and make her your world, or you show her clearly that you have a world she's lucky to be part of. There's no middle ground. Half-hearted commitment, half-hearted independence. These create confusion, create weakness, create the very doubt you're trying to avoid. So, what do you do instead? You become so focused on your mission that her fear of missing out flips. She stops wondering if there's someone better than you. She starts fearing that she's not good enough for you, that you might find someone more aligned with your vision, someone who adds to your life instead of distracts from it. This shift is everything, because now the power dynamic has reversed. She's no longer the prize you're chasing. You're the opportunity she's afraid to lose. And when a woman fears losing access to your world, she stops looking at other options. Not because you demanded it, not because you guilted her, but because her focus has naturally shifted to keeping what she has. But this only works if your purpose is real, if your mission is genuine, if you're truly building something that matters more than her presence. Fake it, and she'll see through it immediately. Live it, and she'll feel it in every interaction. We're only 3 weaknesses in, and already you're seeing patterns, connections, the psychology beneath the surface. But we're going deeper, much deeper. Stay with me, because the next weaknesses reveal even more about how female psychology actually works. Weakness number 4. The inability to separate emotion from reality. Here's something most men never understand. Women don't experience reality the same way you do. Not better, not worse, just different. And if you don't grasp this difference, you'll be confused by her behavior forever. A man can have a bad day and still acknowledge that his life is good overall. He separates the moment from the bigger picture. But for many women, the emotional state of right now becomes the entire reality. If she feels bad in this moment, then everything is bad. If she feels doubt right now, then the whole relationship is questioned. Carl Jung explored this when he discussed the anima and animus. The feminine principle, he said, lives in the realm of feeling and intuition. It doesn't think linearly. It doesn't separate emotion from fact. It experiences them as one unified truth. This is why a woman can love you deeply on Monday and question everything by Wednesday. Not because she's unstable, but because her emotional state has shifted, and with it, her entire perception of reality has shifted too. Most men try to fight this with logic. They present facts. They remind her of good times. They list all the reasons why her feelings don't match reality. And this fails every single time. Why? Because you're speaking a different language. You're trying to solve an emotional problem with rational tools. Here's what actually works. You acknowledge the feeling without being controlled by it. You say, "I hear you. You're feeling this way right now." But you don't panic. You don't scramble to fix it. You don't change your entire life because her emotional weather has shifted. Think of yourself as a mountain. Weather passes over you. Rain, wind, storms. But you remain unmoved. Not because you don't care, but because you understand that weather is temporary, that emotions pass, that feelings are not permanent truth. Nietzsche wrote, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster." When you react to her emotional chaos with your own chaos, you've lost. When you let her temporary feelings shake your foundation, you've become part of the problem. Instead, you remain stable, grounded, present, but unmoved. And something amazing happens. She starts using you as her anchor, her reference point, the solid ground she returns to when her emotions settle. This doesn't mean ignoring her feelings. It means not being enslaved by them. There's a massive difference. You can acknowledge her emotional experience while refusing to let it dictate your reality. Because here's the deeper truth. When you remain calm while she's in chaos, you give her permission to calm down too. Your stability becomes the evidence that maybe things aren't as bad as they feel right now. Maybe this emotion will pass. Maybe she's safe. But if you panic when she panics, you confirm her fears. You prove that the chaos is real, that the relationship is fragile, that everything is as unstable as it feels in this moment. So you become the eye of the storm, calm, centered, unshaken. And over time, she learns to trust your reality more than her temporary emotions. Not because you forced her, but because your consistency proved more reliable than her feelings. This leads directly into the next weakness, one that shapes how women bond, how they attach, how they love. Weakness. Number 5. The need to merge identity with their partner. When a woman falls for a man, something interesting happens. She doesn't just love him. She starts to absorb him. His interests become her interests. His friends become her social circle. His goals become her goals. She merges her identity with his. This isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's subtle. She starts dressing differently, talking differently, liking things she never cared about before. And on the surface, this seems like devotion, like love, like commitment. But there's a darker side to this. When a woman merges her identity with yours, she loses herself. And when she loses herself, she eventually resents you for it. even though you never asked her to change, even though you liked who she was originally. Ernest Becker explored this in his work on death anxiety and the need for significance. He said humans create immortality projects, ways to feel significant, ways to matter beyond their limited lifespan. And for many women, their immortality project becomes the relationship, becomes you. But here's the problem. When you become her entire world, you also become her prison. Because now, her sense of self depends entirely on your attention, your approval, your presence. And that creates a suffocating dynamic that kills attraction. Think about it. In the beginning, she had her own life, her own friends, her own hobbies, her own identity. And that independence was attractive. It gave her depth, mystery, dimension. But as she merged with you, all of that faded. And now she's just an extension of your life, instead of a complement to it. This is why you must never allow a woman to make you her entire world. Not because you're selfish, but because it's not healthy for either of you. When she has no life outside of you, she becomes needy, dependent, clingy. And those traits kill desire faster than anything else. So what do? You encourage her independence. You push her to maintain her friendships, her hobbies, her goals. Even when she wants to spend every moment with you, you create space. Not to play games, but to preserve the very qualities that made her attractive in the first place. Schopenhauer said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." The same is true for women. She needs space to remember who she is outside of you, to reconnect with her own identity, her own desires, her own purpose. And when she has that space, something beautiful happens. She returns to you more whole, more interesting, more alive, because she's been reminded that she exists beyond your relationship, that she has value independent of your validation. But here's where it gets tricky. You must enforce this boundary without being cold, without rejecting her. It's a delicate balance. You're saying, "I love you, but I won't absorb you. I value you, but I won't consume you. I want you in my life, but not at the cost of your identity." Most men can't walk this line. They either push her away completely or let her dissolve into them entirely. Both extremes destroy the relationship. The first through distance, the second through suffocation. But when you master this balance, you create something rare. A relationship where two complete people choose each other daily. Not from need, not from fear, but from genuine desire, from strength, from wholeness. And that kind of relationship doesn't just survive, it thrives, because it's built on freedom, not dependency, on choice, not obligation, on mutual growth, not merged identity. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But transformation doesn't mean losing yourself. It means becoming more of who you truly are through the mirror of another person. That's the relationship worth having. That's the dynamic worth building. And it only happens when you understand this weakness and actively work against it. When you refuse to let her merge with you completely. When you insist she remains her own person, even as she chooses to walk beside you. We're halfway through now. 5 weaknesses revealed. 5 psychological truths most people never acknowledge. But the deepest ones are still ahead. The ones that touch the core of female psychology. The ones that explain behaviors that seem completely irrational until you understand what's really happening beneath the surface. Stay focused, because the next 5 weaknesses go even deeper into the shadow. Weakness. Number 6. The terror of social rejection. Every human fears rejection. But for women, this fear runs deeper. It's woven into their survival instinct in ways most men never consider. And understanding this changes everything about how you interact with them. Throughout human history, a woman's survival depended on belonging to the group. Being cast out meant death. Not metaphorical death, actual death. No protection, no resources, no support. And even though we live in modern times, that ancient programming still runs in the background of female psychology. This is why women are more sensitive to social dynamics than men. Why they notice who's upset, who's distant, who said what. Why they spend energy maintaining relationships that seem pointless to you. Because to her, these connections are survival. They're safety. They're proof she belongs. Freud understood this when he explored the superego, that part of the mind that internalizes social rules, that punishes us with guilt and shame when we step outside acceptable behavior. And in women, this superego tends to be louder, more demanding, more vigilant. Watch how a woman reacts when she thinks people are talking about her, when she feels judged, when she senses disapproval. It's not just discomfort, it's panic. Because some ancient part of her brain is screaming, "The tribe is turning against you. You're being cast out. You're in danger." Now here's how this shows up in relationships. She needs to know that your friends like her, that your family approves, that your social circle accepts her, not because she's insecure, but because her nervous system equates social acceptance with safety. Most men don't realize the power they hold here. When you casually mention that your friend made a comment about her, even something small, it echoes in her mind for days. When she feels your social circle doesn't embrace her, it creates anxiety that bleeds into everything. So, what do you do with this knowledge? You don't weaponize it. That's the path of small men. But you also don't ignore it. You understand that social validation from your world matters to her deeply. And you can choose to give it or withhold it based on her behavior. When she adds value to your life, when she respects your boundaries, when she treats you well, you naturally integrate her into your world. Your friends meet her. Your family knows about her. She feels welcomed into your social structure. But when she disrespects you, when she crosses lines, when she takes you for granted, that access naturally contracts, not as punishment, not as manipulation, but as a natural consequence, because high-value spaces require high-value behavior. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But in relationships, the real power is being someone whose world she fears losing access to, not through threats, but through standards. When she knows that your social circle is valuable, that being welcomed into your life is a privilege, not a right, her behavior naturally aligns. Because losing you doesn't just mean losing a boyfriend, it means losing the entire social structure she's been integrated into. This is why women often stay in relationships longer than they should. Why they tolerate things they shouldn't. Not always because they love the man, but because they've built a life within his world. And starting over means social death, means rebuilding everything, means facing the terror of being alone in the tribe. Understanding this doesn't make you cruel. It makes you aware. And awareness is power. You're not creating this weakness. You're simply seeing it clearly. And when you see it, you can navigate relationships with precision instead of confusion. But social rejection isn't the only terror she carries. There's another one that's even more primal, even more powerful. Weakness. Number 7. The fear of aging and losing value. Every woman knows that her value in the sexual marketplace has an expiration date. She might not say it out loud. She might fight against it. She might pretend it doesn't matter. But deep down, she knows. And this knowledge shapes decisions she doesn't even realize she's making. Arthur Schopenhauer was brutal in his honesty about this. He observed that women's beauty peaks early and fades quickly, compared to the value men can build over time. And while his words were harsh, the underlying truth remains. Society judges female value heavily on youth and beauty. And women feel this pressure every single day. This is why women in their late 20s start feeling different. Why 30 feels like a deadline. Why every birthday after 35 carries weight that men don't fully understand. Because she's watching her biological clock tick. Watching her options narrow. Watching younger women enter the scene. Now, before you think this is shallow, understand something. This isn't about vanity. This is about survival programming. For thousands of years, a woman's ability to attract a quality mate determined the survival of her children, her genetics, her legacy. And that timer was always running. Even in modern times, even with career options and independence, that ancient anxiety remains. She sees the wrinkles forming, the gray hairs appearing, the attention shifting to younger women, and each sign of aging triggers a deep fear. Am I running out of time? Am I losing my chance? Did I waste my best years? This is why women respond so intensely to younger women in your life. It's not just jealousy. It's existential threat. Because every younger woman represents what she's losing, what she can never get back, what makes her feel replaceable. Nietzsche said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." But aging doesn't make women feel stronger. It makes them feel invisible, irrelevant, expired. Society tells them their value was temporary, and that message never stops echoing. So what does this mean for you? It means you hold a power you might not have realized. Your attention becomes more valuable as she ages. Your commitment becomes more meaningful, because she knows her options are decreasing while yours might be increasing. But here's the critical part. If you're a man building real value, developing skills, accumulating resources, growing your mission, you age like wine while she ages like bread. This isn't cruel. It's reality. And she feels it. This is why women in their 30s often suddenly want commitment, want marriage, want children. The urgency isn't about love. It's about time. The biological clock isn't just a saying. It's a constant anxiety humming in the background of every decision. And when you understand this, you understand why she acts certain ways, why she pushes for commitment, why she gets anxious about your future, why she compares your relationship to her friends' relationships, because every day that passes without progress feels like loss to her. Now, you can use this awareness in two ways. The low path is to exploit it, to use her fear to control her, to dangle commitment like a carrot while never committing. That makes you a manipulator, a user, a small man playing small games. The high path is to understand it and make intentional choices. If she's adding value to your life, if she's worth committing to, if she aligns with your vision, you move forward decisively. You don't waste her time. You don't string her along. But if she's not right for you, if she doesn't align, if the relationship doesn't serve your growth, you let her go. Cleanly, clearly, without cruelty, but without hesitation. Because keeping her around when you know it's not going anywhere is actually more cruel than ending it. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." For women, part of that terror is accepting that time moves forward, that youth fades, that biological reality has limits. And the man who understands this without exploiting it, who sees it clearly while still treating her with dignity, becomes rare, becomes valuable, becomes someone she respects. Because most men either ignore this reality or weaponize it. You do neither. You simply see it, acknowledge it, and make decisions from wisdom instead of manipulation. We're 7 weaknesses deep now. 7 layers of female psychology revealed. But we're not done. The final 3 go to the very core, to the deepest shadows, to the truths that are hardest to face, but most important to understand. Stay with me, because what comes next completes the picture. And once you see all 10, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Weakness. Number 8. The inability to respect a man she can fully control. This is the paradox that destroys most relationships. A woman wants a man who listens to her, who considers her feelings, who makes her feel important. But the moment she realizes she has complete control over him, something inside her dies. The attraction fades, the respect disappears, and she doesn't even know why. Nietzsche captured this when he said, "Woman learns to hate to the extent that she forgets how to charm." But I would add this: woman loses attraction to the extent that man forgets how to lead. When you become too agreeable, too moldable, too eager to please, you stop being a man in her eyes. You become a servant, a follower, a safe option she respects less with each passing day. Think about every relationship you've seen fall apart. How many times did it happen? Because the man gave her everything she asked for. He changed his plans for her, skipped his goals to make her happy, abandoned his friends to spend more time with her. And what did he get in return? Eventually, nothing. Because she lost respect for a man who had no backbone. This doesn't mean you ignore her needs. It means you have standards she cannot bend, boundaries she cannot cross, a mission she cannot distract you from. When she tests you, and she will test you, you must remain unmoved. Not through anger, not through harshness, but through calm certainty. Machiavelli understood power dynamics better than almost anyone. He said, "Men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries." In relationships, this translates clearly. Either you establish yourself as a man with non-negotiable standards, or you will be walked over until she leaves. When you say no and mean it, when you hold your ground even when she's upset, when you choose your purpose over her temporary emotions, something shifts. She might not like it in the moment. She might push back. But deep down, her respect for you grows. Because you've proven you cannot be controlled. And respect is the foundation of sustained attraction. Love without respect is just neediness, just attachment without admiration. But when she respects you, when she sees you as a man who cannot be manipulated, who will not compromise his core for her approval, she feels something primal, something she cannot fake. Genuine desire. This is why the nice guy loses. Not because kindness is weakness, but because his kindness has no boundaries. He gives and gives until there's nothing left. And she respects him less with every sacrifice he makes. So be kind, but be immovable. Be loving, but be firm. Be present, but be unshakable. That combination is rare. That combination is powerful. That combination keeps her respect alive, even when emotions run high. Weakness. Number 9. The addiction to drama as proof of passion. Most women confuse intensity with love. They think if it doesn't hurt sometimes, if there isn't occasional chaos, if everything flows too smoothly, then it's not real. It's not passionate. It's not worth having. Carl Jung explored the shadow self, that dark part we repress. And for many women, peace feels like denial, like suppressing some vital part of themselves. So they create drama. They pick fights. They test boundaries. Not consciously, but as a way to feel alive, to feel something strong, to confirm that you still care enough to react. This is why calm men confuse them. When you don't rise to the bait, when you don't match her energy during an argument, when you remain centered while she spirals, it disarms her entire strategy. She expected you to fight, to defend, to engage in the chaos. But you don't. And here's what happens next. Two possibilities. Either she escalates, trying harder to get a reaction, or she stops. She realizes the game doesn't work on you, that you're not playing, that drama doesn't control you. If she escalates, you know she's not ready for a mature relationship. She's still addicted to chaos, still measuring love by pain. And you have a decision to make. Stay and endure it, or walk away and preserve your peace. But if she stops, if she adjusts her behavior when she realizes drama doesn't move you, you've taught her something invaluable. You've shown her that real strength is calm, that real love doesn't need chaos to prove itself, that intensity and stability can coexist. Schopenhauer said, "Life is a constant process of dying." And in relationships, every unnecessary drama is a small death, an erosion of peace, a waste of energy. When you refuse to participate in that death, when you choose life and calm and purpose over reaction and chaos, you become different from every man she's known. Most men either avoid conflict completely or engage in it aggressively. You do neither. You acknowledge it without being controlled by it. You hear her without losing yourself. You remain present without being pulled into the storm. And that stability becomes addictive in its own way. She starts craving your peace instead of chaos, your groundedness instead of drama, your strength instead of reaction. Because you've shown her there's another way, a better way, a way that doesn't require emotional destruction to feel alive. Weakness. Number 10. The deep need to feel chosen, not just wanted. This is the most profound weakness of all. And it's the one most men never understand. A woman doesn't just want to be desired. She wants to be chosen, specifically chosen, irreplaceably chosen. As if out of all the options in the world, you selected her for reasons she cannot quite name but deeply feels. There's a massive difference between being wanted and being chosen. Wanted is physical, temporary, replaceable. Any attractive woman can be wanted. But chosen? Chosen is different. Chosen means you saw something in her that nobody else has. Something beyond her body, beyond her surface. Something that makes her irreplaceable to you. Ernest Becker wrote about the denial of death and the search for meaning. He said humans need to feel significant, to matter, to be more than just temporary flesh walking toward the grave. And for women, being truly chosen by a high-value man is one way to feel that significance. This is why she asks questions that seem insecure. Why do you love me? What makes me different? Would you still want me if I looked different? She's not fishing for compliments. She's searching for proof that you chose her for reasons that transcend the temporary, that your selection of her is based on something real, something lasting, something that makes her feel irreplaceable. Most men answer these questions wrong. They list physical features. They give generic compliments. They say things that could apply to anyone. And this confirms her fear, that she's not actually special, that she's just convenient, just available, just another option. But when you answer from depth, when you point to specific qualities she possesses, to ways she challenges you, to perspectives she brings that nobody else does, something happens. She feels seen at a level she's never experienced. She feels chosen in a way that reaches her core. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When a woman knows why you chose her, when she understands what makes her irreplaceable in your eyes, she can bear the difficulties of relationship, the challenges, the growth required. Because she's not just another person, she's the one you selected. And that gives her meaning. But here's the crucial part. This only works if it's true. If you haven't actually chosen her. If you're just with her because she's there, because she's convenient, because you don't want to be alone, she will feel it. Women have incredible intuition for inauthenticity. They sense when your words don't match your truth. So this isn't about what to say. It's about who to choose. It's about being selective enough that when you do commit, when you do choose someone, it's real. It's based on genuine compatibility, on actual alignment, on qualities you deeply value. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But transformation only happens when the meeting is real, when the choice is intentional, when both people are actually selected, not just settled for. We've journeyed through 10 weaknesses, 10 psychological realities that shape female behavior. From the need for validation to the terror of aging. From the addiction to chaos to the deep need to feel irreplaceably chosen. But here's what matters most. This knowledge is not a weapon. It's a mirror. These weaknesses exist in all humans to varying degrees. Men have their own shadows, their own fears, their own programming. The point is not to exploit weakness. The point is to understand it. Because understanding creates compassion, creates wisdom, creates the ability to navigate relationships without confusion, without bitterness, without the constant wondering why she acts the way she does. When you see clearly, you can choose consciously. You can decide if this particular woman, with her particular psychology, aligns with your particular path. And if she does, you know how to build something real, something lasting, something that honors both your strengths and acknowledges both your weaknesses. Machiavelli's final wisdom was this: the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool learns these truths through decades of pain, through failed relationships, through confusion and heartbreak. The wise man learns them now, integrates them, uses them to build better, to choose better, to love better. You've stayed until the end. That means you're choosing wisdom over ignorance, awareness over reaction, growth over stagnation. This is the shadow mind, where we explore the darkness not to live in it, but to understand it, to integrate it, to become whole. If this resonated with you, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, knowledge without action is just entertainment. So take what you've learned here and apply it. Test it. Refine it. Make it yours. The shadows are real, but so is the light, and you cannot have one without the other. Until next time, stay conscious, stay strong, stay true.